darkness. My God, that is who you.
Good morning, beautiful women of God. I want to talk to you today about closure from a narcissist. Will you ever get closure? We're going to talk about that when we come back. So today we are talking about closure from a narcissist. Will you ever find any closure in this whole shenanigans of parade? My answers, in my experience, I want y'all to know that I am not a psychiatrist. I'm a woman that's been through this abuse numerous times and had to get down to trying to recognize the patterns and get down and recognize the healing that I needed. And my goal at this point is to help all of you to walk through some healing. So the question is, will you get closure from a narcissist? I get these questions a lot on Facebook. I have a Facebook page and there's a couple women that I mentor to online. And you know, it's amazing how many people are just hurting from this. And the one lady that I have right now is from India, and she is just such a loving, sweet woman. And you have to realize that these people just go after the most caring women ever, and men. I know there's a lot of men that have ran into some narcissistic women, and God bless America on that one. You know, women, we're geared in general to be nurturers. So, I mean, for a woman to be a narcissist, I just, I don't know. I don't know how that happens. And I know that's horrible to say and so sexist, but, you know, I mean, I've met some narcissistic women and I have some in my life, but they're dynamite women usually. They're those crazy fun, just their personalities are so outgoing and they're just so fun to be around. But as far as being in a relationship, they're crazy. I mean, I have a girlfriend right now. I'm just like, you need to walk around with a warning label. She's neat, she's smart, she's smarter than most women that I know. But she definitely, when it comes to men, she definitely uses and abuses them. But, and I'm not laughing at that. I'm thinking about her right now, and she's just such a dear, sweet woman to me, and I love her to death. But it took me a while to figure out even what she was. But, you know, sometimes we, you know, need to identify. But when you're trying to get closure from a narcissist, for some reason they just don't, they're not like you and me to where they can be like, okay, this relationship is over and we're going to walk away and everybody's going to be healthy. And, you know, they're not like that. They will string you and string you and string you. And of course, you never really know what you did wrong or why the relationship ended, or, you know, you're left with so many questions and you're never going to get answers. You're going to have to find those answers inside of you. And you're the one that's going to have to give yourself closure. When is enough enough? You know, we don't like to admit the abuse. It wasn't a hard one for me to admit it. I knew, publicly it was hard to admit. I've just been kind of, I don't want to be like, hey, I'm higher social status than anybody or anything like that, but I know that there are people that look up to me, and I know that I have people that depend on me. And for me to admit what was going on behind closed doors was very hard, and it was shameful. And that somebody that was as intelligent as me and that had a lot of gifts that, you know, God had given her and a good head on her shoulders, for me to allow the abuse to happen. That was very hard for me to admit. It was hard for me to admit to others. And I'm smarter than that. And most of the time, you know, when I look back on all the narcissist relationships, I was above them and I was smarter than them. And they did not equal me in any way, shape, or form that I can even go to. So the abuse is embarrassing, especially if it's sexual abuse. And that's probably the one way, because I didn't feel loved by parents when I was younger. That was probably the one way that I was able to be abused the easiest. And that attention and that physical contact was really what my drug was. And I don't want to be like, hey, I was a sex addict, because I wasn't a sex addict. I know that as I've been single for 2 years, and I'm not a sex addict. But when I'm in a relationship, I crave that attention a lot. And so when I've been with a guy that is narcissistic and is extremely sexual, that's how they pulled me in. And you know, I've been with a psychopath as well. And again, I don't really like to admit these things, but I'm going to, because I know that my story is going to help somebody else. The psychopath that I dated was really bipolar, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I actually gave him a second name. It was, his real name was Jose, and I called him Joey. And Joey was the person that I don't want to say I loved them, because there was no love in this, but the one that I liked, we'll say that. We'll go with that. He was the one that I liked. He was the sweet one. He was the one that wrote songs for me every night and sang at the bottom of my bed. He was the one that was genuinely caring and was really sweet. And Jose was the psycho. And when I'm saying psycho, I'm telling you, psycho things happened in this relationship. It was anywhere from throwing my keys on the roof of his house so I couldn't leave, to abusing me physically in hotel rooms. And I never knew from day to day what I was walking into. I didn't know if I was going to get the nice one or if I was going to get the ugly one. So every time that I went and picked him up, you know, I would be going through my head going, why are you even here? Turn the car around, turn around. This is not good for you. But I was so addicted to the whole dynamic of that relationship, you know, as that dopamine releases in your brain. I mean, that is the drug of it. And it's really hard to explain if you've never been through it. But as far as going through the closure of it, there was, you know, that relationship, there was no closure. It was, you know, I'd end it, and he was the kind, as again, he was a psychopath, so he wasn't a covert narc, which usually I'm with covert narcs. So this was something totally different. But if I was like, no, we're done, I've had enough, and wouldn't call him for a couple days, he would show up at my house, throw rocks through my window. I mean, we're talking some crazy, violent things. You know, I can't even tell you how many times the police were called. It was dangerous. I didn't know if he was going to end up killing me eventually. And, you know, eventually I had to change. I had to move. I literally had to move, and I couldn't tell anybody where I was living. And I had to get separated from my kids. It was some crazy stuff. Thank God he's in jail today. I think he's serving a 5-year sentence right now. But that's usually where those people end up. They usually end up in jail or dead. And, you know, why I would even associate? It was a low point in my life, and I was going through some things. I was losing some businesses and was looking for a distraction. And not that it's an excuse, but I found the distraction I needed to work through that time period in my life, even though it added more chaos to it. As I said, you can't really cry about storms you've created, and I definitely created that storm. And I don't like to be like, you know, I deserved it. It's not that I deserved it. It was just that it was an outlet for me at the time, because I was unhealthy, and I welcomed the crazy chaos and confusion. But anyway, working through the shame of it, you know, you have to forgive yourself. And that's one of the, for me, that was a big step. And I had to ask forgiveness for the people around me. I know when we talk about codependency and we talk about getting healed from that, I looked into that. It is a 12-step program, which of course, the first time I looked at it, I was like, I'm not an addict. I don't need a 12-step program. And as I was reading through the 12 steps of that program, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm kind of an addict. All right. So, because I was addicted to all of the drama of it. And, and there was a part in there, I believe it's step 5 of that we're supposed to ask other people for forgiveness for the wrongdoing. I was like, these people have harmed me. How in the world do I need to ask forgiveness from anybody? People usually, I'm the one that does everything. I'm the one that, loves everybody until I can't love them anymore. And I'm like, what do I need to ask forgiveness for? I had to really look at that. And the people that I've harmed through my toxic relationships have been my children. They've seen it all. They've walked through a lot of it with me. They've, and I'm responsible for that. I'm responsible for raising those girls to be healthy. And I had to take some responsibility for that, as hard as that was, of how these relationships have affected them, how me or watching their mom be abused by these men, how that affected them. And or how much time I took away from them and neglected them. And those were the things that I had to take accountability for. So, we can sit here and point our finger at the narcissist or the psychopath or whatever dysfunctional relationship we have been in and we chose to be in, but the children are the innocent victims in this. If you don't have children, I'm not sure who you would need to ask forgiveness. Maybe a parent that had to watch you go through that, and maybe you had to go home to their house several times because you couldn't be on your own. I'm not exactly sure. Only you can answer that. But these are things that you do need to ask yourself. But I want you to know that, before I get off here today, I want you to know that you are a valuable person. And regardless what these people have done to you or you've allowed to happen to you, you're responsible for your healing. You're not responsible for that abuse. They're responsible for that. But you need to know that you matter and that you have a purpose. And when I was speaking about the Indian lady that I'm working with online, my big thing was, what did you enjoy doing before you got into these relationships? What were the things that made you you? And she came up with that she enjoyed painting. And so I told her every day, for like an hour, I want you to set aside time to go paint and make a picture. And I want you to be proud of what you are doing. And I think that's the main thing, is that we need to get back into where we're proud of ourselves. And so that was my one assignment for her this week. And I believe that the more that you focus on you and your projects and your purpose and where you're trying to go, I think the less you're going to be focused on that toxic love bombing soul tie that's still going through your head. That's an everyday battle. And because you want to think about them every single moment of the day, and it's like you've been brainwashed or a spell's on you. That's the soul tie. And me, the only way that I could start breaking that off of me was to move in my direction of purpose that God had for me. So anyway, I'm going to encourage you to try to figure out the thing that you enjoy doing the most and start doing that all the time, and start being proud of the work that you're doing, and start loving yourself as far as get the negative talk out. I'm a big advocate of journaling. Journaling helps you to see and reveal things on paper that you're not thinking of in your head. It's getting your thoughts on paper. And those are just parts of the walk to your healing. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this today. Stay safe, stay home right now with all this fun coronavirus stuff going on. But take care of yourself and be safe, because you are worthy.